Is the life you're living yours, or is it a life constructed by an elite power? As soon as you're born, you are given a name. You are then given a social security number. You're given a birth certificate. You're given government issued documents. Then after that's finished, whatever your parents are, whatever religion they are, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, pagan, whatever they are, most likely that is what you are going to become. That is the ideology and belief that you are going to become. But what if none of that was ever taught to you at birth? Would you still be the same person that you are now? If you were never raised with those religious values or those cultural values, would you still think like the herd? Would you still have that hive mind? Would you think the same? Have you ever questioned whose idea was it to get a fancy house, get all these material possessions, fancy cars, fancy clothes? Whose idea was that? Who says that that's the standard of happy living? Did you think that? Or was that idea implanted in you? Was this an ideology that you grew up with and you assumed that it was true because that's what was forced upon you? That's what you saw all the time. The key to a happy life is going to college, getting a 4-year degree, then going into debt, then buying a home and going into a mortgage debt, then getting a fancy car to impress whoever. Getting a fancy car to impress people that don't like you and that don't care about you. Getting fancy clothes that cost thousands of dollars just so maybe you can get somebody home from the club that one night. Getting all these fancy shoes and consuming hundreds and hundreds of songs that tell you you gotta have this jewelry, you have to have this car, and that's what makes you happy. Is that what really makes you happy? Or is that something that you maybe were conditioned to think to make you happy? Was this an ideology imposed on you by somebody else? Do you really have free will in terms of societal norms? Let's say you were born and you never knew the idea of monetary value. You never knew the idea of money. You never knew the idea of having hundreds of expensive shoes and hundreds of expensive clothes and a $30,000 car and a $200,000 home. Let's say those ideas were never introduced to you. Let's say that when you grew up, no one ever told you if you want to be happy, you have to buy very expensive cars and you have to buy expensive clothes and you have to live in an expensive neighborhood. If those ideas were never implanted into your mind by capitalistic elites, how would you really be? Would you be the person you are today, or would you be completely different? Would you be one with nature? Would you be out and about? Hunting maybe, or maybe relaxing under a tree, picking fruits, simple stuff like that. If the idea of buying hundreds upon thousands of clothes and shoes, just this overload of consumerist items and materials, if that idea was never introduced to you, would you even care about that? Would you even care about having the latest tennis shoes or care about having the latest designer shoes? Would any of that matter to you? See, the only reason that stuff does matter to us is because since we were kids, we were molded ever since grade school. See, grade school isn't meant to teach you. It is meant to mold you. That's why school is called an institute. You know what else is an institute? A prison. All through grade school, they indoctrinate you with useless information that is going to mold you to serve them. Then after that, you are told to go to school for four or 8 years and get into serious depth to get a degree that is going to get you a job that you're going to be paying for your debts for probably a good remainder of your life. And then the job that you work at, you absolutely hate. It's not fulfilling. It's a mundane job that really doesn't fulfill you. And you spend the majority of your time in that job being told what to do by a manager that really doesn't like you, working with people that really don't like you either, for the most part. And then you come home and then you watch sports. Another waste of time. You watch other people playing sports. In all reality, most of this country is obese, but they sit around for 2 hours watching other men throw a ball around. And that's life. Imagine if none of these ideologies, if none of these notions, if none of these lifestyles were introduced to you, how would you really be? Would having that new challenger even matter? Would trying to impress females that really don't even care about you, would that matter? Or would trying to get likes on Instagram for dudes who only want to have sex and nothing else, like animals, would that even matter? See, is this a life that we want, or is this a reality given to us? All these tall buildings, all these infrastructures, all these vast networks of technology and vast networks of social media, these vast networks of people and ideas that seem to be in a hive mind. Everyone thinks the same. So you got to ask yourself, is that really something that even interests you, or do you feel like that's something that was told to you and you just took it as truth? Ever since you were growing up, they told you, get more money, work hard, buy useful stuff. That's the key to happiness. They rarely, if ever, mention, especially in school, anything about your health, anything about your well-being mentally, anything about having a proper diet. I mean, if you look at the food they serve in school, it's complete slop. It's microwave almost slop. Processed pizza, hamburgers. And for those who are gonna say, oh, well, you could pack your own lunch. They force kids to go to school, right? Either that or homeschool. But even then, you're given some kind of curriculum at home to some extent. But other than that, they pretty much force you to go to school. So if they're forcing someone to go to school, then at least have healthy meals that would make kids think clear, perform better. But that's not the infrastructure we live in. That's That's not the institute that we live in. But just think about it. The person you are now, the ideologies you have, the consumer lifestyle that you carry of buying meaningless materials, spending your whole life working a job just to buy material possessions that don't even really matter. Is this something that you would have done if society didn't tell you that that's what you should be doing? Just think about that.